900 AM ETPay. Attention to number 3 Notre Dame, because how the Irish fare at number 7 Miami 8 p.m. ET on ABC and ESPN app will do more to shake up the college football playoff race than any other game on Saturday's loaded Week 11 slate. The ripple effects of an Irish loss to the Hurricanes would be felt from Washington to Wisconsin, because as long as Notre Dame remains in the selection committee's top 4, at least 2 Power 5 conferences will be out. However, a Notre Dame loss would open the door. It could be a second ACC team in Miami. It could be the Big 12, either Oklahoma or TCU. It could be Wisconsin, the only undefeated team left in the Big 10. It would at least give hope that Washington might have a chance should it win out. Notre Dame plays on the road for the first time in over a month when it travels to Miami. Daniel Bartelic on SportsWire. One thing is certain: Notre Dame is currently in the way of the Big 10, Big 12 and Pac-12 frontrunners, but the Irish are heading into their most difficult and arguably most important game remaining. Notre Dame hasn't played on the road since October 7 at North Carolina. The Irish still have to play Navy 53 and Stanford 63, but with no conference title game to play in, this is the best opportunity to impress the selection committee one more time. 538 will update its college football playoff projections after every game and new selection committee ranking. Projections? I know our guys are excited about this championship drive they're on now, Notre Dame coach Brian Kelly said. This part of the season, obviously in November, all of the teams that are in contention are focused on one game at a time. It's a single elimination for most teams. And most teams are waiting for the Irish to be eliminated, or their path to the Final Four will remain blocked. If the Irish are to take the place of a Power 5 conference in the playoff, which will it be? Here's a ranking of each Power 5 conference's likelihood of having a team in the playoff ranked from best to least, and the Week 11 games that will impact their standing in the next ranking. 1. SEC CFP ranked teams 5 with number 1 Georgia and number 2 Alabama holding steady in the selection committee's first 2 rankings. It's becoming clear the winner of the SEC championship game is all but a lock for the final top 4. Even a 12th Auburn team is still in contention, with games against the Bulldogs and Crimson Tide still remaining. The biggest question facing the SEC right now is if it can get 2 teams in the top 4 on selection day. Georgia and Alabama are the only 2 teams to rank in the top 5 in ESPN's strength of record and game control. As long as they keep winning, it remains a realistic scenario, especially if the gap between them continues to be as razor-thin in the eyes of the committee as it is now. Games to watch Week 11: number 1 Georgia at number 10 Auburn, 3:30 p.m. ET on CBS. The stakes are higher for Auburn. Georgia can afford to lose this game and still win the SEC, having already clinched the East Division. If Auburn loses, it's eliminated, but a win makes a final push to the top 4 seem less outlandish. ESPN's FPI basically considers this game a coin toss, giving Auburn a slight edge at 51.4%. It feels like a 2-game season for the Tigers, who faced the Tide in the Iron Bowl on November 25. According to 538, Auburn has a 9% chance to reach the playoff as a 12th team. Number 2 Alabama at number 16 Mississippi State, 7 p.m. ET on ESPN and ESPN app. This is the second straight opponent Alabama will face that is ranked in the committee's top 25, following last week's win over number 24 LSU. Much like Georgia in the East, Alabama can actually afford to lose this game and still win the SEC. Clemson remained at number 4 after last week's win over NC State. Streeter Luckagety Images 2. ACC CFP ranked teams for the ACC still has 2 legitimate CFP contenders, with a loss Clemson in the Atlantic and undefeated Miami in the Coastal on a collision course for the conference championship game. In spite of the loss to Syracuse, Clemson has a resume that continues to impress the committee. FPI ranks the Tigers' schedule strength as second best in the nation, and they have 7 wins against teams ranked in the FPI top 40, which is tops in the nation. An undefeated Miami with wins over Clemson and Notre Dame would most certainly be in the playoff as well. Where it gets tricky is if Miami loses to Notre Dame on Saturday but goes on to win the ACC. Then, the ACC's picture in the playoff isn't so clear, especially if the Irish win out. Games to watch Week 11: number 3 Notre Dame at number 6 Miami. A Miami win might boost it into the top 4 of the committee's 3rd ranking. The Hurricanes haven't beaten the Irish since 1989 during their national championship run. Miami clinches the ACC Coastal if Virginia loses to Louisville. Florida State at number 4 Clemson, 3:30 p.m. ET on ESPN and ESPN app. This was supposed to be, and has been in recent years, the decisive game in the ACC Atlantic. Now it's simply a trap Clemson must avoid. A win won't do anything for the Tigers' resume, but a loss would knock Clemson out of the top 4 for good. The Tigers will clinch the ACC Atlantic with a win or an NC State loss. Point 3. Big 1-2 CFP ranked teams 4-0. 5 Oklahoma remains the league's leading contender, with number 6 TCU right behind it, which makes Saturday's game so important. The Sooners are ranked number 1 in offensive efficiency but are allowing 28.2 points per game, lowest among Power 5 teams with 1 or fewer losses. In fact, when comparing the Sooners' defense with that of the previous 12 CFP participants, they would rank last in points per game, yards per play, 20-yard plays allowed, points per drive and defensive efficiency at this stage in the season. TCU, meanwhile, has 4 wins over teams ranked in the FPI top 40, including West Virginia and number 15 Oklahoma State. If the Horned Frogs are pitted against other one-loss conference champions, non-conference schedule might hurt their chances, especially since their win over Arkansas 45 does not look as strong. Michigan State can put one foot in the Big Ten championship game with a win over Ohio State. Adam Ruffick on SportsWire. 4. Big Ten CFP ranked teams 6 despite a Power 5 leading 6 teams ranked in the committee's top 25, including number 25 Northwestern, the Big Ten's highest-ranked team. Wisconsin sits at number 8, behind 4 one-loss teams and undefeated Miami. When Ohio State and Penn State both lost last week, so did the entire Big Ten. According to FPI, there is a 65% chance the Big Ten champion will have multiple losses, the highest of any Power 5 conference. Games to watch Week 11. No. 20 Iowa at number 8 Wisconsin 3:30 p.m. ET on ABC and ESPN app. Wisconsin will clinch the Big Ten West with a win and earn its first win against a ranked opponent. FPI ranks the Badgers' strength of schedule at number 73, the worst of any Power 5 team. Number 12 Michigan State at number 13 Ohio State. Noon ET on Fox. The winner will most likely represent the Big Ten East in the conference championship game. This game also impacts other teams. If Ohio State wins, it's then possible Oklahoma's resume could include a win over the Big Ten champs. If Michigan State wins, it helps Notre Dame's resume. Point 5. Pac-12 CFP-ranked teams 3 Washington remains the league's best hope for the CFP, but with 1 loss and a weak schedule, it needs to win out and hope that wins over Washington State and, preferably, USC in the conference championship game bolster its schedule strength enough. FPI projects the Pac-12 as having the second highest chance to produce a tallest conference champ at 60%, second only to the Big Ten 65%. Games to watch Week 11. Number 12 Washington at Stanford Friday, 7:30 p.m. ET on FS1. Even though Stanford isn't ranked, this is a tricky Friday night game for Washington. Cardinal running back Bryce Love had a season-low 69 rushing yards in last week's loss to Washington State, and the Huskies allowed just 91.1 yards per game, 6th the West in FBS. Number 11 USC at Colorado, 4 p.m. ET on Fox. USC will clinch the Pac-12 South with a win or losses by both Arizona and Arizona State. Even with the Pac-12 title, though, USC's CFP hopes are probably already doomed. Not only haven't the Trojans looked like top 4 material this season, they also don't have any wins against the committee's current top 25. This game is less about USC being on CFP life support and more about the other contenders it affects. Washington needs USC to win, and so does Notre Dame. It makes the Irish's 4,914 win on October 21 continue to look good.